Sex is a taboo. Girls are only allowed to have sex after marriage.
Who do you think these men are doing it with? Whatever this is, I wanted. On a random Tuesday, they'll be like, all the girls, please come to one section.
None of us know.
We thought dirty picture is porn.
Yeah.
So we used to have this lesson in our NCERT textbook, which was how does organism reproduce?
It's called reproduction. And I think it was chapter 8.
Or 11, I'm not sure. But our teacher, when she came to class and it was time for the lesson of reproduction, and she's like, so today's chapter, we're just gonna skip it because it's homework. And I'm like, what do you mean? They never skip a chapter. They take forever to finish a chapter. And they're like, so this chapter is homework. Just go home and read it. You guys will understand it anyway. And I'm like, how can you just skip a chapter like that, which is like one of the most important chapters? And I don't think if I go home and read the chapter reproduction with ovaries and fallopian tube and everything, I don't think I'm going to understand that on my own.
So for us, we had this male teacher who was our biology teacher. And obviously, the boys in our class didn't make it easy on him when he was teaching it. So he was just like, you guys read it yourself. And then out of nowhere, the backbenchers were like, we don't understand anything. And then he got very awkward and he left the class and he called another female teacher to explain it to us. And then the class made it so much difficult for her that we were just told that, these are the important diagrams. You just have to by heart it. And that's what's going to come for your exam. We're not going to teach this for you.
I think that's just so weird. And actually, we had a female teacher, and we also had this incident where all the students were just giggling the entire time when this chapter was taught. And she was also kind of feeling shy. But I don't think you should feel shy about it. There's nothing to feel shy about it.
First of all, there's nothing to feel shy when you have a diagram of the ovaries and the fallopian tube. Like, what are you even feeling shy about? And that is not the chapter that you really need to teach children. That's just about reproduction. Where is a chapter on sex education?
Schools in India, at least, don't have sex education. Sex education is like a myth to Indians.
We have holistic education. We have a lot of these classes on moralities and values and things that we need to learn outside the textbook, but nothing about sex education.
That reminds me, when I was in Christ, this was when I was in my UG, okay? And we had this holistic education every other Sunday, not Sunday, every other Mondays, I think we had this. Once a week. Yeah, once a week we had this holistic education classes, and it's about loyalty, humility, and
all the
values that you need. And no one's listening in class because these are just the basic things. Even though people don't have it, these are the basic things that they're teaching. And I requested the teachers ki I think what we need is sex education. And they were like, I think you need to take it up with the higher team. And we started having a conversation about it, and we started, there were a lot of emails and back and forth, a lot of emails, and there's a discussion about it, how we should introduce it. And they were like, what do you mean, what's sex education? Like, what do you want in it? So then I had to explain what topics we need under it, like consent, boundaries, how there is victim blaming. There's so much which comes under sex education, right? Protection. And I was like explaining these are the things that could be taught, essentially. And then we had a whole discussion about it, and then later on they were like, no, we cannot do this in our college, it's against our vibes. And they're like, we cannot do it, we can only do holistic education. And I was like, that is just so unfortunate. Even in schools it's not there, in college it's not there. Then how are the people learning it? Where are they learning this from then? The internet, the media.
And that's the worst place to learn it from, because there's no rule book or proper guidance. I think right now there is still a lot more access to proper sex education. But for someone who has no awareness at all, especially someone who's like a teenager just fumbling upon something on the internet, that's very scary. And I just want to go back to whatever you said about bringing this in our university, because she's 2 years senior to me in college. When I came in my first year till my third year, we did not have anything called sex education. And it's a college where so much is happening. And still, this is something that's really not taught or like spoken about.
And there's so much taboo around it, and everyone's so ashamed to talk about it, which
Yeah.
I don't understand why.
And I think even if we're like, oh, we didn't get sex education, people would just joke about it saying, what do you want to learn? Come, I will show you something so you can learn. Like,
It's not funny.
yeah, it's not funny. It's really
Yeah.
not funny.
And I think the lack of it has caused a lot of problems for everyone.
Yeah.
And especially here in India, where you need to like sit down and actually teach people, when it's not taught, there's just so many social impacts to it, I feel. Like, that's how homophobia and all kind of
Yeah.
develops, because people don't know anything about it and they don't think it's normal, and they're like, what is LGBTQ? Like, what is that? They don't believe it's true because you're not taught about it when you're growing up.
You just have this vague concept about reproduction, which in itself is not explained to you properly. And you kind of look at sex like a taboo, and then you do not have conversations around it. Your parents are not telling you about it. And then you just have these random information that you get from different places. You piece it together, and it's a very, very confusing thing, especially to have as a teenager.
Yeah.
Then you grow up with these very crude
Ideas.
ideas about sex, and you don't know what exactly consent is, or if you
Yeah.
can even, as a woman, you don't know when you can say no, or if you can even say
No.
And as a man, you don't know if a no is actually a no. And these create bigger issues in adult life when you actually start having sex.
That is very true. I think consent as a, like as a concept, like it should be taught. Like one
Yeah.
chapter separately on it. It should be just taught to people.
And I think still there were conversations about good touch and bad touch. But again, these are also conversations where only people are talking about these things to girls.
Yeah.
Why are you only telling a girl child what a good touch and a bad touch is? Even men, even boys are affected by it.
Yeah.
Teach
definitely.
them what a good touch and a bad touch is, and teach them not to touch anyone badly.
Yeah, that is true. I think that's just an Indian thing where girls are separated and then they're taught what to do and what not to do.
Oh my god.
That is like a very Indian thing. But I also think there's a lot of other impacts when sex education is not there.
Yeah.
Like people don't know how to respect boundaries.
Yeah.
They just don't know how to do that at all. And also, they don't know what protection is. When you're so young and you're like a teenager, you're not taught a lot of things about this. So they're like, everyone's just stumbling across this thing, right? That's how I think a lot of unsafe sex happens. A lot of, these STDs and everything just happens.
And
like
I
that.
think when you look at something as a wild concept that you are not aware about, you kind of want to explore it in very, very unsafe ways.
Yeah.
And that is why a lot of issues also come up. Like, men have the first access to whatever is close to knowing about sex from porn, which is
That's
a
the
very
thing.
scary place to know anything.
Yeah, when they don't get any sort of sex education, porn is the first introduction to men.
And it's not like anyone's introducing young boys to porn. I think when they're very, very young, they just sit together and explore it together. And
Yeah.
that is so fucked up.
I think most of them come across sex with their friends, like as
Yeah.
like, okay, guys, let's watch a video. And then that's how they think it is. But porn is like entertainment. It is very choreographed. It's very edited. That is not how actual sex is. And I think, okay, so an experience that happened to me, okay, was, I think this was 1 year back when I went on a date. I have told this to you, and I went on a date, and this guy asks me for a head on the first date. We've just met, okay? And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I was just shocked that this guy did it. And I wanted to tell him ki porn is not real life. You are not going to get head on a Wednesday afternoon randomly, because
It's so wild that a lot of men think that they can, just assume that, okay, I'm going on a date, I can definitely demand this to a woman. Like, no, a date is not just getting physical with each other. A date is getting to know each other essentially.
and I don't think
And there are layers to physical intimacy. It's
Yeah. And I don't think you should just look at porn and think that it is a real life and just like, that's the thing. If you watch it, it's great, masti karo, have fun. But don't treat it like an instruction manual where, that's what real life is.
I think it sets very unrealistic expectations for young people who watch it.
Even for men, dude.
Yeah.
No one's going on for 30 minutes. Calm down.
But it is a very scary thing to be
Yeah.
exposed to when you're very, very young. Because every woman you're going to be with after, you have a reference in your head.
Expectation.
And that is what you're expecting from a woman.
Yeah.
And that is not real. And that is just depriving you of something that's way more important, which is being intimate and
Yeah.
a lot of other things.
Yeah, I don't think that as an introduction is, like, it's not
You
fun.
know, it's also crazy how in India the system is just so weird. Where after 6th grade, boys and girls are separated in co-ed schools.
Yeah.
Like one fine morning when you guys used to sit together, whatever, you guys are just separated into 2 sections in a classroom. One side for girls, one side for boys. You can't sit together. You can't talk to each other. You can't be seen walking around
Suddenly
with
it's
each other.
forbidden.
And out of nowhere, you're just like, okay, what just happened? Because yesterday it was okay, but
Yeah.
today it isn't. That itself makes it weird for everyone.
I
Then
think that's
you
the
just
system,
see
yeah.
boys sit together and talk about something. They're not really looking at you the same way.
Hmm.
Because around that time is when boys have discovered porn.
Hmm.
For me, the first introduction was so weird because it was not
Yeah.
even porn. It was when Dirty Picture came up and these pen drives are being circulated in my classroom. And I really didn't know what was happening because everyone was just passing around pen drives and talking about it and giggling. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel so excluded.
For the longest time, she thought Dirty Picture is porn.
Yeah. Yeah, for a good chunk of my life, I did not know what porn is.
I remember when that
I was
used
like, that
to-
is the worst that it can get.
Yeah,
and
when it
everyone's
used to
talking about
come
it.
on TV, like, I'm just like, what is happening? And I'm like
Yeah.
slowly watching. My parents are coming. I'm like, shit. No, change.
So I also
Yeah.
got hold of that pen drive and I sat and watched it and it's like, oh, this is
That is what's the
this is
Yeah.
what the big deal is.
we're
about.
doing wrong by watching it. But have your parents ever given you the talk?
No, never. Till this day, no.
Yeah, Indian parents don't give you the talk about sex or anything. I feel they feel very shy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think they just feel like, okay, it's not our place to talk about it. They'll figure it out somehow.
That's the worst.
And that's the worst because how are they exactly going to figure it out if you're not going to tell them?
Actually, I don't know what's worse, your parents talking to you about it or, I don't know
But
how
again,
I
this
will
is also
feel if
very
they...
messed up in our head, right?
Yeah.
Because our entire lives, our parents have just skipped very specific, important topics that they do not touch.
Yeah.
And now even we think that, okay, we cannot talk to our parents about it because they've never
Yeah.
spoken to us about
It's
it.
so weird. I can never imagine my mom or dad coming and asking me, like,
Have you had
things-
sex?
Like,
Yeah.
have you had a boyfriend or anything? Then
That's
I'll
a
be
very
like,
weird
I'm so
question.
shy. Because I've never had conversations like that with them. Since childhood, like,
Yeah.
it's not... Even though they tell me, you can tell us anything, you can be so free with us. I don't know, can I?
I don't think so we can. And it's also because our society just treats it as
Yeah.
a very forbidden topic and essentially for women to talk about physical intimacy. I think it's really looked down upon.
Yeah.
I don't think my parents are going to be happy with this episode. Like, in all honesty, I don't think they're going to be happy that their daughter's talking about something that should not be spoken about.
But-
and that exactly is the problem.
Yeah, but my parents have given me the talk about periods though.
I have
That-
not even gotten that.
Like, it's
I have
very
not
funny
gotten that.
how they told it, but they were like, girls get this thing where, they bleed a few days a month and, you're like becoming a woman and that's how you become a woman. And I got my periods very late, okay? I'm like, why am I not becoming a woman? Everyone in my class is a woman. Why am I the only one? And I feel so left out now. And when you get periods, at least in school, all the girls become one team. Whoever got
Yeah,
periods.
I remember
And
that.
I'm
So
like, wow,
weird.
I'm so alone. I'm the only one who didn't get it. And I was like, why am I not getting it? I'm glad I didn't get it, but still.
For me, I didn't know what periods was about. Like, I didn't know that something like this existed. And then one of my friends got her first period. And everyone's freaking out. Like, literally everyone is freaking out because none of us know what it is. And it happened a little early. I think 4th grade, 5th grade.
Fifth
Yeah,
grade.
so I did not get my period, but one of my friends got it. And none of us knew about it. And then she was the one telling us about what this is and why this is happening and everything. And even she doesn't have much of an idea. She's not telling us exactly what it is. She's like, you bleed and you can't touch anything. These are the things she's telling me. In your house, you can't touch certain things. You're only supposed to eat in a certain vessel. And once it happens, people will give you gold. And I'm also like, what is this?
They were telling that, once you get your periods, you'll get gold, you'll get money. And then I'm like, wow, now I want this. Whatever this is, I want it. I want gold.
Yeah, but I was also very scared about it because my parents never spoke to me about it. So I went to my mom and I'm like, my friend got her period. What is this? Will I also get it?
You'll know when you get it.
And then my mom is like, you don't have to think about it. It'll happen when it has to happen and all that. And she's still dodging the topic. And then one of my aunts told my mom that, you really have to talk to her. So if you're not going to talk to her, I'll talk to her. And then my aunt told me that you don't have to worry. Every month, every girl will get it. That's all.
But that is, I don't even know why.
And that's all that I was told.
Why should you even feel anything to explain that?
Yeah.
Yeah, even in school, we weren't explained what periods is because that chapter was skipped. We didn't know what it was.
I think, especially as a young girl, you just feel so awkward and shy and you don't talk to anyone about it really. And especially to your father or the men in your own household, you feel like, okay, something's happening to me and they cannot know about it, which is so weird because obviously all of them know about it. You don't have to like...
Yeah, and when they ask what's happening, why is she seeming low, and they'll be like, she has stomach pain.
Yeah.
They don't even say the word periods. They'll be like, she has stomach pain. She's not feeling well, let her be.
Yeah.
That is just what.
But I hope things have changed.
Yeah, hopefully.
In the last 10 years.
Yeah, and I even hate the way when you get like pads from the medical shop, they cover it and they have to give it in a newspaper. That was like they don't cover anything else. Everything else is like, they just like take it,
Even in the ads, the blue water. As if you're bleeding blue blood.
Yeah, I don't understand why they have to cover it like as if it's like something in shame. And I used to get so annoyed by this when I used to go to medical shops and they used to cover it and give me the pad. I'd be like, remove the cover. I don't want the cover. You take the newspaper. I used to get so annoyed when they used to do that.
But I think even for boys, they're also never really aware of what periods is.
Because in school, did they separate you and take you to different rooms?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
In schools, I think this is a very Indian school thing. But on a random Tuesday, they'll be like, all the girls, please come to one section because we have a meeting. And the guys are like, what the fuck? What is happening? Why are they calling all the girls? Did something happen? And all the girls are taken to this classroom and then they are given this lecture around, what is it about? Around periods.
Around when you get your periods, this is how it's going to be. And it's basically more about how you're not supposed to be talking to a guy after that. Which is the craziest thing. Like, what will happen if I talk to a guy?
Yeah, so they give us a whole lecture about it and the guys don't know what's going on. But ideally, you should tell the guys also what's happening. Because now they're more curious. They're like, what is happening? Why are the girls taken to a room? And now they have to find it out through the internet.
And because they've never been told about this concept as adults, they're also like, how is it a big deal?
Yeah.
Why are you making a big fuss out of nowhere? It's never out of nowhere. It's just something no one spoke about because we were told that we cannot speak about it. It was always there. Now we're just talking about it more freely.
Yeah, so even when periods is taught in school, like it's not really explained properly, right? So when we get like these very bad cramps or these emotional fluctuations of any kind, I feel guys don't understand it only. They're like, it's not a big deal. You calm down. You chill. And that's when we get very annoyed.
I don't think guys still understand that.
I think
honestly.
Because we're like talking about it a lot now, they understand it a little.
Yeah. I think there is still an effort from a lot of guys who want to understand it. Because they're like, okay, you tell me, you explain it to me, I listen. At least that is there, which I think is progress.
Yeah. I think a lot of our friends are also very cute about it. They like get us chocolates. Because I think that is the main thing they associate it with. Because they're like, okay, your friend has periods, I'll get her chocolates. And I'm like, that's so cute. Like, I love our guy friends who do that.
I was in bed the entire day for like 2 days, very just unable to move. And then Vivi's brother just comes and gives me 3 chocolates. Saying, see, I got this for you. And I was so dead. I'm like, yeah, thank you.
And then he came and told me, you know what I did today? I gave Malu chocolates because I knew she was on her periods. And then I'm like, That's what we do every other time.
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
going to applaud for it. But yeah.
But do you think this is an Indian thing that there's lack of awareness about a lot of these things?
I think abroad, like when you live abroad, I think sex education is mandatory there, right?
Yeah.
I think so. I personally feel
At least around protection, consent, and all of that, they are very well aware.
I think
because
grade seventh
Yeah.
or something, they get that classes for it.
I don't know why even in 2025 this is not mandatorily in the school curriculum.
Maybe it will come someday.
Hopefully
Hopefully
comes.
it'll come, yeah. Because I think it's time right now. I think people are woke enough to know that it's very important.
But honestly, the Indian culture is also what is stopping a lot of people from really diving deep into a lot of topics. Because all our lives we've grown up listening to the fact that, sex is a taboo. Girls are only allowed to have sex after marriage. And any girl or woman who has sex unmarried is not pure enough.
That's the thing. It's like always seen as sex is so pure, but only for women.
Yeah.
It's not for men. Like when a man is a virgin at a certain age, he has a problem.
Yeah.
But a woman is a virgin, wow, that's how she should be.
He's a man at the end of the day. It's okay if a man does it, but as a woman, you're not allowed to do it.
Who do you think these men are doing it with?
Exactly. And they call these women unpure women.
Yeah.
But, as much as we just talk about it and leave it at that, it is really, really ingrained in a lot of
Yeah.
men's brains. Even the woke ones, even the ones who are like really, really, educated and about with their lives and who look very, very forward, they still have it in their heads because they are the same kind of men who will say things like, that's the kind of woman I will date but not marry. Where do you think this thought is coming from? It comes from lack of sexual awareness. It comes from the thought that they've been also listening to things like a pure woman will not have an active sex life.
Yeah, it's also like people think, like in that movie Aap Jaisa Koi,
Yeah.
even a very straightforward man who you think is very ahead and not at all narrow-minded can also have thoughts like, I want my woman to be very pure. I don't want her to be with any other man. But have you done the same? Are you also like that?
Exactly, and it's very simple. In school, who are the girls who get slut shamed? The girls who go talk to guys, not even do anything. Because after a certain age, we are separated as genders,
Yeah.
where two genders cannot even be friends. And a girl who is friends with guys is just getting slut shamed out of nowhere. And this is also ingrained in a lot of boys and girls' heads. The thought is a lot about our culture as well.
There's a lot of double standards around desire as a this thing, because I don't think women are allowed so much to have desires, right? Like men, it's them. It's like, it's their right kind of a thing. But I don't think it's like for women, like it's not meant for them.
It's crazy because the more deeper we go into this topic, it's like women are the ones getting objectified. Women are the ones who are desired, but somehow we cannot have desire. Somehow we are supposed to be pure. And all of this just doesn't fit into one single picture.
It's like so confusing. Like,
Yeah, it is
so
very
many things are
confusing.
told and we're like, what do we do now?
And it's also very, this is a topic that really just makes me furious. Because I don't know, for some reason, I just get so angry listening to these things.
Yeah, I know, because we've also had, all of us friends have sat down and have had conversations about this, how when men have a lot of sexual partners or they've had a lot of sex, they're like a player.
Yeah.
But when a woman is sexually active and has had a lot of sexual partners, she's a whore.
And that is a concept I still cannot wrap my head around.
It just doesn't
I feel
make
like
any
all
sense.
of this just boils down to how we have been raised.
Yeah.
And our culture has a lot to play in it. This whole thing around purity and all of that is bullshit. You teach your kids about consent. That is more important.
Yeah.
You teach your boys about
Boundaries.
respecting boundaries.
Yeah, that is the most important. I think when it comes down to it, I feel it's also about how parents raise their children. Even for us, let's be real. How our parents raise us is like, you are so pure, your body is pure.
Yeah.
You need to find the right person, marry them, and then get into a physical relationship, which is fine if you're teaching your boys also that.
Yeah.
It is completely fine if you're teaching both genders that. But for boys, it's completely different education than us.
I think teach both both boys and girls to respect boundaries, to respect your body, and to respect yourself enough to know who you're doing it with. Have that conversation. I will still tell people who have not had sex, like anyone who's getting physical with anyone, that do it with someone you trust, who you feel safe with, because that is more important than doing someone you marry.
Yeah, because when you don't teach kids about consent, is when a lot of emotional manipulation comes into play.
Yeah.
Like, I still remember there are a lot of, when you're in school and everything, no, you're just so scared to like hold hands or like, you know, like do anything. You're just so scared. Even for that matter, even in college, okay, when my first kiss, okay, we're like, we don't know anything about sex education. We have a myth. If you kiss, you will get pregnant. These are the myths we have in our head, okay? And even then, you are so scared to do anything, right? But even then, there's so much of emotional manipulation happening. Like, if you love me, then you will do it. See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's where coercion comes into play, and then consent is thrown out of the window. Because then you are like, oh yeah, he's right, then I should do it.
I think even these young boys are like, okay, if she is my girlfriend, she has to do it. Why will she not do it?
Yeah.
What do you mean you can't do it with me? Because I've been asked this question that, what do you mean you don't want to do it? Aren't you with me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that it doesn't
Don't
work
you trust
like that.
me?
Yeah.
There's so much of gaslighting also that comes into play. Even when it comes to consent, I feel something that's very important is when you say like nodding and this thing, everything should be taken into play.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a verbal yes, everything else is a no, I feel. Yeah.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I feel like people who do it for the first time, especially, there's like so much confusion about it. Because I remember I was in college and we all used to stay in this girls' hostel. And we're very young at that point. So most of us, and myself included, we have no clue about sex at all, how it works, what it is actually like. And one of our friends had sex for the first time. And before she went, she was just so scared. And we'd all just sitting together trying to Google how this works. Because none of us know. Not a single person knows how this works. And one of our seniors is coming and talking to us about it. And some of us are scared, some of us are confused. It's such a vague topic. But you know, the larger picture about this is a bunch of young girls who know nothing about sex can so easily be coerced into doing something they do not know about.
Yeah, that's the problem. Since we're not told what to do, if someone just tells us, if you love me, you should do it, we might just be like, okay, sure.
And there's no awareness about protection, birth control, awareness about STDs or getting yourself checked. Nothing.
I remember once when Malu was going on a date or she was talking about something, my brother was like, make sure that he has all his tests done. And I'm so new to this. I'm like, what is happening? What do you mean tests done?
And first of all, I was like, why do I even need to think about these things? Because I'm going on a date. But that's not even the outlook men have about dates.
Yeah. And I was so confused, ki, what test is he talking about? And then he was telling, yeah, everyone has to screen themselves. What is it called?
There's the ELISA panel test.
Yeah. You have to like test yourself if you have any STDs or whatever. And then you have to communicate with the other person.
And even when it comes to tests, when it comes to protection, when it comes to contraception, there is so much of vagueness and lack of awareness, even for people our age.
Yeah.
Like, even we are a little confused about things. Like, even if you ask me, I really don't know anything much about these things. And one part of it is, I'm like, okay, nothing's happening in my life. I don't have to be aware. But even if nothing's happening in your life, I think that kind of awareness is required.
It's needed, yeah. I think we will learn about it soon when we get into a relationship. Yes. But saying that, I think we should go to Room for South.
Yeah.
And Room for South is a segment where we introduce you to beautiful gems from the South. It can be a movie, it can be an artist, or anything of that sort. And today, she will be recommending 2 movies because I haven't personally watched those movies and I will be watching after this.
I can't believe I'm the one recommending movies to VP because it's usually her who comes to me and tells me that you should watch this. But two movies that are so on point with whatever we have spoken about today from the South. So one is not a South Indian movie, but it has a very underrated Malayali South Indian actress. This movie is called Girls Will Be Girls, and I watched it on Amazon Prime. The lead is Kani Kusirti, who is a Malayali actor who is amazing. So this movie is about a mother and a daughter. The daughter is in her 10th grade and she is in her first relationship. So she's also exploring her body. She's exploring her desires. She's also very, very new to this.
Okay.
And she's in a relationship with the guy. But the mother is also exploring herself through the life of the child. Which is a little messed up and very weird in a lot of ways. But I think it is a very important movie to watch.
Okay.
Because there are things that you can relate in terms of what you went through as a teenager. And just how boys are at that age. So Girls Will Be Girls is an amazing watch. The second movie is a movie I watched a while back. It's called Aruvi, starring Aditi Balan. It's a Tamil movie. It's a very intense watch. It's not an easy light movie, so don't expect anything light from it because it talks about a girl who's disowned from her family, who's had very bad sexual experiences, and who ends up getting diagnosed for AIDS. So this is a movie about an AIDS survivor. It is also talking about a transgender woman and her struggles, but it's a very, very important watch. And I think it's great that in South India there are movies made like this.
Exploring really good concepts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Aruvi is a movie that I watched really long back. So for that time, it was way ahead of its time.
That's amazing.
So remember, Girls Will Be Girls and Aruvi, please watch these movies.
Yes. And with that, we are coming to the end of this episode. So like, share and subscribe to Lost the Plot the Pod, and also follow us on Instagram and our podcast page on Instagram. So we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.